What if today's Trump-Venezuela standoff becomes tomorrow's history lesson? And nobody tells it right. Donald Trump, 45th, President of the United States. Real estate mogul turned political disruptor, a figure who redefined American conservatism and foreign policy in ways historians are still measuring. But this story isn't just about him. It's about a country 2,000 miles south that's been in America's crosshairs for over a century. Venezuela, home to the world's largest proven oil reserves, a socialist state that's defied Washington for decades, a nation whose fate has always been tangled with American interests. Oil, ideology, influence. These three words explain why Venezuela has never been just another country to the United States, and why what happened in January 2026 might echo for generations. Early January 2026, U.S. military forces launched strikes into Venezuela. The stated objective: capture Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela's controversial president, and his wife. Within days, Maduro stands in a U.S. federal courtroom. The charges: narco-terrorism and drug trafficking conspiracy. His plea: not guilty. But this isn't just another arrest. This is an alleged sovereign leader, extracted by force, facing American justice on American soil. International legal experts raise questions. Was this lawful? Did it violate sovereignty? Does the U.S. have the authority to capture foreign heads of state? The debate rages. Some argue Maduro is a narco-dictator who terrorized his people. Others call it an invasion, a violation of international law, an act of imperial aggression. But here's what matters for history. This moment didn't come from nowhere. It's part of a pattern, a playbook, written over decades. December 1989, Panama City burns. Operation Just Cause. U.S. forces invade Panama to capture Manuel Noriega, a former CIA asset turned drug trafficking dictator. The official death toll: over 500. Noriega is brought to Miami, tried, and convicted. Go back further. The Cold War. Guatemala, 1954. Chile, 1973. Nicaragua, the Contras. Grenada, 1983. The pattern repeats. A regime Washington doesn't like. Accusations of drugs or communism or both. Intervention, military, economic or covert. And when bombs don't fly, sanctions do. Venezuela has faced crippling U.S. economic pressure for years. The goal: regime change without invasion. But when sanctions fail, other options emerge. The parallels are striking. Drug charges, military force, U.S. courtrooms, sovereignty debates. The details change. The playbook doesn't. Why does this keep happening? Follow the oil. Follow the ideology. Follow the power. Venezuela's oil reserves are strategic. Control over that oil means influence over global energy markets. For decades, Venezuela's socialist government has been a thorn in Washington's side, not just because of ideology, but because of what that ideology controls. And here's the deeper question: executive power. How much authority does an American president have to act abroad? Can they order strikes, capture leaders, reshape nations, without congressional approval, without international consensus? These decisions shape decades. Most Americans don't know about Noriega anymore. Few remember the full story of Chile or Guatemala. History gets buried under newer headlines, but the consequences last. Resentment, mistrust, patterns that repeat because we forget they happened before. And when we forget, we repeat. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My mother said I wouldn't even reach 1K subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show her that these tales matter. Because if we don't tell these stories, if we don't connect the dots between today's news and yesterday's interventions, then we're doomed to see them unfold again and again. So here's the question historians will ask 50 years from now. Does America ever truly change its playbook? Or just update it? The methods evolve. The technology advances. But the underlying pattern, identifying a threat, applying pressure, intervening when necessary, justifying it afterward, that pattern persists. Maybe it's about security. Maybe it's about economics. Maybe it's about maintaining a sphere of influence in a world where power is always contested. Or maybe it's simpler. Nations act in their interests, and history is written by those who survive to tell it. The Trump-Venezuela case isn't over. Maduro's trial will unfold. International courts may weigh in. Diplomatic consequences will ripple for years. But whatever the outcome, this moment will be studied, debated, used as evidence in arguments about American power, presidential authority, and the limits of intervention. Today's headlines are tomorrow's history, and silence decides what's remembered. The question isn't whether these stories matter. The question is whether we'll remember them long enough to learn from them. I'm your guide through History Crypt. Subscribe if you want more stories they don't teach in school.